Funerals actually take a lot more planning than I expected. With us using island cuisine for the first time, of course we were iffy, but once they came and showed us their service, their food, we tasted their food and everything, we definitely use them again because their service and food is just awesome.
Babe, I forgot the ice. I'll be right back.
Okay. Get some snacks too.
Okay.
Hey, excuse me, sir. Did you forget something?
Actually, yes, we forgot a bag of ice for our drinks.
Worth one per betsu. We could take care of that for you. Follow me. You said you needed ice?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else you needed?
Yes, maybe some snacks.
Sure. Okay, your order's complete, sir. Your order should be here shortly.
All right, great, thank you.
Sir, here's your order.
All right.
Thanks.
Suzuo smasi.
One per betsu.
The Pampas
and elite wish we go away.
because we are
Real and direct.
no interest owns us.
And we have no interest but
The truth. Together we are exposing
corruption.
Together we will reform criminal justice
Together.
We are fighting violence
against women and children.
We here at
Candid
We'll shine the light
on every corner of darkness.
Together we are giving a voice
To the voiceless.
and forgotten.
Stay lit.
Together.
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 We are giving a voice to the voiceless and forgotten.
We are Candid News Group.
Buenos Marianas and Micronesia. I'm Troy Torres. Welcome to our studios here on the 7th floor of the DNA building in Hagåtña, Guam. And joining us in studio is Republican senatorial candidate, but for today, the
community advocate.
The all seasons hat, community advocate Ken Leon Guerrero. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Yes, the reason why I'm here today is because Saturday voting starts.
That is the
early
what's
voting
that date?
for the
19th,
general
right?
election. Yeah, the
I think
19th.
we put that notice out. I think there are 4 places aside from GEC where people can
Yeah,
vote.
there's a schedule of rotating voting that's going to be going around the island. Next Saturday it's in Molesso, but this Saturday it is in the Agana GCIC offices for.
So I'm becoming more and more concerned about the election because as more traditional methods of campaigning have flown out the window with the COVID-19 restrictions, you know, your newer candidates can't get their names out there because they can't fundraise so that they can buy the ads. They can't go canvassing so that they can have that one-on-one with people and have people judge for themselves the quality of the character and the ideas and all of that stuff. So
Can't even leave materials. at
can't
the
leave
house.
materials. So what we as voters are left with is our names that we recognize, which is dangerous if for the past year and a half we've been clamoring for change, but now we may be robbed of that opportunity because the only thing that we have before us is our memory of a person's name, which leaves us with incumbents and in a scary way with people who are returning, who used to be senators and are returning to reclaim their glory or what have you. I know many of them to not be good people. Matter of fact, you've come up with a list as a community advocate that you come up with every election
yeah.
to help people in case you wanted more information from someone that you could trust. If you've placed your trust in Ken Leon Guerrero in the past, if you've learned to trust him over the past couple of years through his advocacy, or now that he's a candidate for senator, well, he's put together a list for you, and I by and large agree with that list, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, news that came from Adelup today, and that is that the lockdown has been extended to September 25, so it's extended by a week.
They're worried there's some businesses that are still surviving and they want to put a fork in them.
So we'll talk about that. But before we get to, let's actually see what the comments are, what people are saying. Candidate John Ananich is watching.
Yeah, John
He says,
Ananich,
"Buenas."
I met for the first time on the campaign, and it goes back to what you said. We had to, as new candidates, come up with new ways of doing things. So I organized a pop-up signature drive, and we went all around the island, popping up in different places and practicing safe signaturing.
Okay.
You know, we set up tents, we had tables.
You and Dave did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dave and I, but a bunch of other new candidates came, but we vetted each other.
Okay.
You know, so I spent time with John Ananich and found out that he had the kind of public service attitude that we need in the legislature. You hit the nail on the head when you said, if we keep sending the same faces back, we're doomed to failure.
Yeah.
Einstein beat you to it. He said, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over again, expecting different results.
Yeah.
And so that's why we put together the list, because the list is very, very analytical. It's not personal. A lot of the people in the legislature are friends of mine, or will be until the list came out, because what I did is I looked at their activities over the past years. As a community advocate, I was looking at what these senators were doing on how it was going to benefit for the people. And I've published a whole body of work that's online, either PDN or Guam Post or Pacific Island Times. You just Google Ken Leon Guerrero and you'll find educational pieces I've written on everything from bonds, taxes, hospitals, everything.
And I know you've done that. Thank you for doing that, because it helps with the trust factor and the credibility. It's all wonky stuff. We're going to be fun today. We are going to talk smack about people who are not on this list, and then we're going to get a little analytical and maybe have some fun with some of the people on the list. There are some people who it just goes without saying. Therese Terlahi should just be on everyone's list, right?
She is on everyone's list based on the survey, the informal surveys I've been doing in the community, because there are 5 names in the 35th legislature that come up all the time as must-keeps.
Jimmy Moylan,
Tela Taitagui, Mary Camacho Torres, Talina Nelson, and Therese Terlahi.
That's so interesting. Our Kandit MMA bout has both contenders in it, Talina Nelson and Tello Taidagui. We're still rooting for a matchup between those two. But also, there's no love lost between you and Mary Torres, so that's interesting. You have her on her list.
Mary Torres and I battle, but here's why I support Mary Torres as a candidate. I may not always agree with positions she takes or bills she introduces, but I have no doubt that she is working for the best interest of the people of Guam as she sees fit, and she is one of the best prepared senators at any public hearing.
Let's say the political speak out of it. When you say works in the best interest, what I'm hearing is she's an honest woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the bills she introduces are for things that benefit the people, and they're not glory. Lifetime IDs for senior citizens. Where's the glory in that compared to, remember when Brant McCready introduced the castrate the rapist bill?
Brant McGreedy?
Yeah, Brant McGreedy. See, that was a headline bill. Because they had no chance in hell of ever being put into effect.
Yeah.
But it made a great headline.
Yeah.
So
He's one of the dumbest people I know.
Yeah. So when you look at the work that Mary Torres does, she and I argue a lot, but you can't have a legislature full of clones. You need to have opposing viewpoints that have the public interest at heart. And there's no doubt in all the years I've watched Mary in her different administrationships, she wasn't a showboater.
Mm-hmm.
And when she came into the legislature, she is not a showboater.
Yeah.
You hear it in her statements, how thoughtful she is about the people. And she doesn't go for the cheap shot or the 60-second soundbite. So, that's why I've been a big supporter of her, even though I don't always agree with her.
We also have senatorial candidate Sandra Reyes-Sayal watching.
Yeah, Sandra, I met on the campaign, on the pop-ups. And it was very interesting meeting with her. Again, public service attitude before she ever went into politics, with her work through the volunteer work she does with victims, abused women. Mm-hmm. When I was looking at candidates as a community advocate, I was looking for people that had a public service, verifiable public service record before they ever became a candidate. And that's what you see in someone like Sandra Sayal.
I like Sandra a lot.
And that was one of the reasons why she's on the list. And when you listen to her ideas, she wants to make life better for families, safer for women and children. How can you argue with a candidate that wants to do that?
We can't, because that's one of those big
badly
things that
needed
we stand
on these
for.
islands.
Yeah. And so, okay, so that's they're
Let's
no
go back
fun
to the smack.
They're no fun to talk about because we'll say all nice things about them. Let's talk about the people who didn't make it to your list. And I notice everyone who voted for the illegal pay raises of 2014, was it?
Yeah, the 2014 smash and grab, massive, retroactive, super secret pay raise.
All of those people who either were in the legislature and voted for it or were a part of the Calvo administration and supported it did not make it onto your list.
They did not.
Course.
Because they proved beyond all shadow of a doubt they're only in it for the money.
And what else? There's more to this.
Well, there's more to it than this. Well, let's take them one at a time. Let's start with Tony Atta.
Okay.
Tony Atta, and he's very proud. In fact, we've got a video clip of him talking about how proud he is of the vote.
Let's play that video. Can we play the Tony Atta video? Tony Atta proud of taking money from the people of Guam because he deserved it, right? Was that it? Let's hear Tony Atta.
Since the passage of Public Law 32-208 from 2.5 to almost 3 years ago, there have approximately been 10 attempts, 10 bills proposed by this legislature to amend the existing law in some fashion or repeal it altogether. And all attempts have failed. I make that statement up front to set the tone for the rest of my testimony. I'm not about to get into the politics of those past failures to amend or repeal Public Law 32-208, but rather speak to you from my perspective as a former senator that passed the most controversial bill into public law. Whenever we as a community speak about leadership in government, it is with the desire that those who aspire to that leadership position be the most qualified and vetted by the community, either through public hearings such as this, and of course through the democratic voting process of an election year.
So that was Tony Atta when he was the governor's legislative liaison, and he got that job when he lost the election in
2016.
In 2016,
as a member of the Gang of Eight.
So this is 3 years after the smash and grab. They were still defending the whole raises thing, but Tony Atta was the minority leader when the Calvo administration pushed through the pay raises. One of those people who voted for the pay raises and continued to vote to defend the pay raises when Congress, then Senator Michael Nicholas, was trying to get rid of them. Remember that?
As you heard there, he's very proud of being one of the senators that voted for that controversial bill.
And I think this is something that people shouldn't forget, because I remember everyone was pissed at the time. Everyone was pissed at the time.
Well, it goes back to, how do you determine who a politician is and who a public servant is? A politician is someone who looks after himself and his supporters ahead of looking after the people. And think about it. They basically gave themselves a $30,000 retroactive pay raise just before Christmas, at a time that the economy was going down and we were already having problems making payroll. Remember, we had to take the Children's Trust Fund to make payroll one year. So we were having problems in the government covering our obligations, but it didn't stop the politicians, Tony Atta being one of the leaders of the pack, from reaching into taxpayers' pockets and extracting an extra pound of flesh.
I want to get back to that point when we start talking about the Lou Democrats, because actually at the time in 2014, times were good. The government purse was filled with a lot of money at the time. Things started to deteriorate slightly, but now we're in a situation where it ain't the time to be spending money. It ain't the time for raises or hiring of deputy directors and all that stuff. And so we'll get to the Lou Democrats and just don't you worry. This is equal opportunity smackdown.
Okay.
This is not just a smacking down of Calvo Republicans, but there are also Lou Democrats who by and large did not make it onto your list. Well, actually, no Lou Democrat made it onto your list. So Tony Atta, at this, and I can tell you about Tony Atta because I was his coworker. We that's putting it loosely. Tony Atta was one of my laziest coworkers. He is completely malleable to the political times, which, I mean, give me your diagnosis on political malleability during dark days like these.
I confronted Tony when I was just getting ready to run as a candidate, and I asked him about rumors that he was running to set himself up for a run at governor with Eddie Calvo in 2022. And he didn't deny it. He told me, and I quote, "Well, as you know, I serve the people, and if that's what the people want me to do, then I am willing to step up."
So it's that grandiose, it's sort of almost like a royal entitlement.
Yeah, it's that the royal we, you know. Yeah. And when Lou was first
be the will of God.
Yeah. So remember back in 2016, we started hearing rumors floating around that Lou was going to run, and she's running. And now we're hearing the rumors that the Calvo Atta team is marching to the gate, and they're using Tony as the chairman of the Republican Party and soon to be the chairman of the Republican whatever in the legislature as the springboard. He's not running for office to serve the people. He's running for office to run for a higher office.
Yeah.
And this is not what we need in the legislature right now. We have serious problems facing the people of Guam. We don't need someone who's going to be using this position to improve his station in life when so many people are just struggling to hold on to what they have.
Or to cut deals, or to be that pedestal for corporations to continue to press their way in through back doors. This is why I'm not voting for Tony Abbott. It's because that is him. He is the consummate politician. Maybe a very nice guy, but he's incredibly lazy, and he's the consummate politician. That's what I know. But you said we're going to chip at this one at a time. Who's the next one on the list?
Next one on the list is Chris Duenas.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Duenas, after he supported the pay raises and he went out with the Gang of Eight, he became the special assistant to the governor at very inflated
and the
cost.
guy could not shut his mouth to save his life. I swear to God, he was the most talkative of the senior staffers at the governor's office. I hated Henry Tyson and I was gonna say a name, but I think she'll kill me. A couple of my other coworkers, Henry Tyson and I, we'd always make fun of Chris Duenas whenever the governor would be done talking about something, and that's the time for the staffers to give their advice. It was always Chris. It was just so, like, I wanted to put a bullet to my head all the time. And Chris just didn't make any sense most of the time. And he never, ever challenged the governor. He always agreed with the governor, never disagreed. And that's just the kind of person he is.
Well, at that time, as you know, I was in the trenches battling GRRP tooth and nail.
Yeah.
And Chris was the point man from the governor's office. And so I had a lot of conversations.
Well, he was the front man, not
front
the point
man.
man.
All right, front man.
Yeah.
Correction. He was the front man in the governor's office that I interacted with the most as they were trying to push through GRRP in the waste energy plant. And he could see nothing wrong with borrowing $360 million of general obligation bonds guaranteed by the taxpayers of Guam and giving that money to a company that never designed or built a waste energy plant using obsolete technology to design and build a waste energy plant right in the middle of 1,800 residential homes, 2 schools, 3 churches, all within a mile. And he could see no problem with that.
And let's talk about that, because of course he could see the problem with it. If the man has a conscience, of course he could see a problem with it. But the issue is that he allows the politics to step over his conscience.
Politician, taking care of politically well-connected insiders first.
He will step all over his conscience to appease. At the time, it was Eddie Coppola, and if that's what you can expect from him. If he is your senator, he will step on his conscience. He will step on what the right thing to do is in order to appease the political order of the day. That's Chris Duenas. He's no different from Tony Abbott, except
more energetic.
Yeah. Who's next on your list?
Joanne Brown.
Now you said one at a time. That's 4 right there.
Well, you see, Joanne Brown is very, very impressed with herself. And I've never been to a public hearing where the first 20 minutes weren't telling us how much smarter she was than anybody else in the room. And then I was very impressed with how she was able to inflate her pay about 80%. And she went from $114,000 to $170,000.
No, she went from 100.
An 11?
No, 114 wasn't her starting. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 106.
All right, 106.
Yeah.
I got the FOIA somewhere.
The 14 came, I think, 1 week later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, she got a job, and then a week later she got a pay raise. 2 months later she got another pay raise.
Yeah.
6 months.
She got 11 pay raises in a 6-year period. If I'm not mistaken.
And so she ended up getting her last pay raise just a few weeks before the end of the administration.
And most of these were retroactive, by the way, which, again, are against the law.
Yeah. And it goes back to retirement. You know, in the slide, she's in it only for the money. Well, how is retirement calculated for people that have been in the old plan? The highest 5.
Well, Joanne Brown, I think it's highest 3.
Oh, highest 3.
Joanne Brown, she's running as the anti-corruption candidate, which I find to be the most ridiculous thing in the world because it's coming from her. You have a video, right?
Yes. Let's go ahead and run the video on Joanne Brown. It's a short one, but it shows, thank me, I'm welcome.
And good luck trying to attract for those who have ambitions to run for higher office. You're going to have a harder time attracting good. You'll always get people. Oh, hell, there's a lot of, hey, I want the job. I want to be in charge. But will they have the wherewithal to do it and do it well? I think that's a bigger question. Thank you.
So basically, she set the tone for everybody else that talked after.
I remember.
Pay peanuts, get monkeys. How do you tell a guy who's works for GWA, who's 6 feet up to his waist in a 6-foot hole, up to his waist in cold water at 3 in the morning, trying to make sure that the people in Santa Rita have water when they wake up? How do you tell somebody like that they are worthless compared to what senators do? Senators set policy. They don't do actual work. They set the policy for the people who do the work. A police officer, when he pulls over a car at 2 o'clock in the morning, he's risking his life. A senator isn't risking his life at 2 o'clock in the morning. How do you tell a teacher who's trying to literally herd cats? You take a room of 9-year-olds, 8-year-olds. That's hard work. That is much harder work than setting policy.
I will never do that kind of work. That is difficult.
No. My daughter-in-law is a teacher, and she works harder than I ever worked in my entire life. But she is creating the future.
I could not imagine being the field marshal and the cornfield of the children of them.
All you have to do is spend time in a classroom and get a true appreciation, or an emergency room nurse, especially now.
Yeah.
There's no way the work senators do is so much more valuable than the work done by the people who actually do the work.
But that was Joanne Brown. We saw her with that heightened sense of puffery. Forgive the pun, but that's exactly what it was. It was this heightened sense of puffery, and that is Joanne Brown. That just is her. Because she really does believe that she walks with this status that is above other people. I worked with her.
Yeah,
I know this.
Well, in the video, what I didn't get in the video, where she talks about, if you roll back the salaries for the legislature and for the governor and for the department heads, you're not gonna attract any qualified people. Well, guess what? We've rolled back the salaries, and now she's applying.
Yeah, now she's applying.
So what is
now
she wants the job?
Yeah. And she's saying that she's anti-corruption. So after this place, and in this public hearing that she took the snippet from, she also talks about how if they roll back the raises, it won't affect her because she wasn't a part of the raises. And little did we know at the time that she was getting her own deals in the background, that nobody knew about it, about her illegal pay raises that an audit confirmed was illegal.
Yeah, and the justification in the board notes was the pay raise for government of Guam. Yeah. It wasn't even for the port.
Yeah.
But they were taking the pay raise
it.
given to government of Guam as their justification to give her a raise.
Marvin Martinez says she looks like she saw a Twinkie passing by. You know what? I'm so sorry. We failed to play the Chris Duenas video.
We should play it.
We're talking about old Big Mouth. Let's play the Chris Duenas video.
And I believe you should be paid that. And I certainly believe the governor, lieutenant governor, and all these wonderful colleagues and professionals behind me certainly do earn their pay and deserve what they're getting paid. And I believe that they are truly making this island go forward, and you will continue to see, the people of Guam will continue to see the fruits of our labor. In closing, I would also like to say, this is not about us. And even with some of the comments by others in the panel before us to speak to, I think you're going to hear a theme tonight from our team and from people who come forward saying to keep these salaries intact.
I can't stand Chris's voice. It just unnerves me. It makes I have PTSD of my time at Adelup whenever I hear Chris's
he's
voice.
Actually right, because after they spoke, that panel spoke, and all the other people started coming up, they all started saying phrases to the effect, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. It's only a drop in the bucket. Try telling someone who got a 2-cent pay raise or a 9-cent pay raise as part of the Hay study, why a senator deserves a $25,000 pay raise. And the Hay study didn't even say that. The Hay study raised the governor's salary, I think, from 90 to 92.50. The Hay study didn't raise it to 130.
So, so these are basically your Calvo candidates.
What we're looking at is
essentially
politicians who are more concerned about taking care of themselves and their politically well-connected insiders than they are taking care of the people of Guam. They proved it in the past. They haven't done anything since then to change my mind about what they would do in the future. Electing these people into the 36 Guam legislature will see more of the same things happening that are happened now, like the gambling, casino gambling at the Liberation Day, Bill 30, which basically gutted Guam Memorial Hospital.
The tax breaks to special interests.
And cost taxpayers $30 million.
Yeah. Also not on your list, another Calvo candidate, this one not a former senator, but appearing in the that video, but in the background is former Chief of Police J.I. Cruz, who has his own run-ins with things unethical and immoral. But why didn't you put him on the list?
Well, first of all, because he was in that hearing. He was one of the people that basically said, pay peanuts, get monkeys.
Yep, yes, he did.
And then he did a campaign of letter writing, justifying why we need to pay these select few so much more than the people that do the work. Now, we have to make a distinction. A director sets policy. A director is an 8-to-5 job. A director doesn't go smashing through a door of a burning building to rescue the children or exchange gunshots with a drug dealer that refuses to surrender. These are not people that work hard. They hardly ever break a sweat unless it's, carrying all the stuff they bought with their massive retroactive pay raises out to the car. So the reason why he wasn't on the list is because of his vigorous defense of secret retroactive pay raises as justifiable and never mind the process.
Well, I'm glad he's on the list because, as far as I'm concerned,
off the list.
I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad he's off the list. I'm glad he's not on the list because, as far as I'm concerned, of all the people running for senator for the 36th Guam legislature, he is the most corrupt. And I'm really hoping that people see things my way and do not vote for J.I. Cruz. Now let's toss on over to the Democratic side of the aisle.
Okay.
And there are like a
well, first
whole
Tina
bunch.
Munoz Barnes was right there. She got thrown out in 2016 for her role in the pay raise.
Well, let's
debacle.
update it because now she's the speaker. Now she's had over the past year and a half the opportunity to make a difference for people through the Guam legislature. No, honestly, there were high hopes.
She had a chance to make a difference.
We had the first woman governor, the first woman speaker, and then for the first time, all three branches of government headed by female leaders. The legislature, which is the lawmaking body, the policy-making body that could change anything and everything, headed by Speaker Tina Munoz Barnes. She had a supermajority behind her, and I think that there is, to put it mildly, I think there's a disappointment that she didn't do those things and that she just became a rubber stamp for the administration. Good or bad?
Bad, very bad. In the 12 years that I've been back on island, this legislature is the worst legislature I have ever seen. It is the most corrupt legislature I have seen in the past 12
How
years.
so?
Well, the very first bill passed was Bill 30. That cost taxpayers, by Tina Munoz Barnes and Peter Terlahi, and they're trying to make a bad situation even worse with Bill 356, I think it is. So they're doubling down on a bad hand for taxpayers. That bill cost taxpayers $30 million. That's $30 million that could have renovated so many of the schools that are in bad need of repair. that $30 million could have, brought GMH up to the standards that would have made CMS very happy and the joint accreditation very happy. But they didn't. They took $10 million and gave it to Guam Regional Medical Center, and in the process, $20 million of revenue dropped at GMH, so the taxpayers had to come up with $20 million to offset the loss.
What else? What else has Tina done or not done?
Well, she's trying to lower the age of statutory rape with the Romeo and Juliet bill.
Is that hers?
That's hers and pedo.
Okay.
Then there was the casino, reopening casino at Liberation, and you notice how they fought hard against making audit trails and putting in accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So they made it so that it's basically a money laundering operation that cost taxpayers $750,000.
Do you think, though, that Speaker Tina Munoz-Barnes actually understands the consequences of her actions?
No.
When she's making them?
No, she doesn't.
You think that someone's in her ear and that she just allows herself to listen to people who she thinks are her friends, including the governor?
She's a puppet.
Okay.
Because in all the conversations I've had with her, she had a difficult time grasping the concepts of what we were talking about. And whenever I would ask her a question, she would respond with, well, I'll have to think about it and get back to you. And she never once in the years thought about it and got back to me. Perfect example was when I first really started getting into the media was Simon Sanchez. When I saw the legislation and saw the lawsuit about how it was going to cost taxpayers $160 million, and this contract was being awarded to a company that was a mixed martial arts promotion firm that had never built anything. Now that's cronyism and corruption right there.
Yeah.
And I tried to get Tina and Judy Wampat to change the law, and they wouldn't. So I drafted my own legislation and tried to use the Organic Act to force them to introduce it. They went to the Attorney General and got a ruling that says that I am misinterpreting the right of petition, and therefore the Speaker doesn't have to introduce legislation that I'm requesting to eliminate the loopholes in the Simon Sanchez contract bill that leave it open to corruption and basically an open-ended, it's like an American Express card, the black American Express card off the general fund.
That's exactly what that was, that contract.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was.
And
now, so you don't think that Tina Munoz-Barnes sits around all day and conspires to do bad things? You think that she just
answers the phone. Oh, you want me to take $10 million out of Guam Memorial Hospital and give it to GRC? Done.
Yeah.
Bill 30.
So that is the danger of electing someone
has a proven track record.
Who is not in control
yeah.
of their own convictions, I suppose, or
let's just say they are more willing to serve special interests than to serve the people of Guam.
And I think, I personally like her. I really do personally like her. But I think unfortunately this is the truth about her, and that a lot of people see this.
Well, we're talking about two things.
About her.
Tina the person, Tina the politician.
Yeah.
As a politician, she is not ready for prime time.
Yeah,
because
right.
she doesn't think about the people, and she doesn't act for the people. Look at Bill 375. Here we had a bill to protect the people from COVID infection by canceling the primary election, and she fought vigorously to keep the primary election on the books until even public health and the GEC said no way. Then and only then did the legislature act in the best interest of the people. But they had to be kicked, dragging and screaming. There's the vote sheet up there.
Well, David Lebowski has something to say about special interests in Tina Munoz-Barnes. He says, Tina Munoz-Barnes, having doctors write their own arbitration law that screws the people of Guam, then tried to name that screw-up law after Asher, his son, and released it on Asher's burial anniversary date till I freaked out and took Asher's name off of it. It's true, and we actually have this in writing from the Speaker's office, is they wrote a quote-unquote arbitration reform bill, but all it really was a bill to appease doctors, and it was, according to the Speaker's office, written by doctors. And it's so, it just, what an example of special interest controlling our legislature. Let's move on to Pito Terlahi.
Pito Terlahi, can we run the video clip on Pito?
Do we have a video on Pito Terlahi? Okay, let's see it.
Are you confident that those charges are just alleged charges?
Okay, so you're telling me that the government just spending money for nothing?
No. That's not what I'm telling you, Chelu. What I'm telling you is
confidence with the law that they have the evidence to do what.
Because I have to agree that for something like this, you come to the senators to expedite the recall, right? Now let's say for example, Chelu, now we got together with the 2/3 of the votes from this body here. And then let's say that the motion that the court found out that Jesse actually was tempted to do that crime supervised by law enforcement, and they dropped the case on him. So what are we going to do? Let's say now we recall Jesse. Let's say now he's proven innocent in court.
So you're telling me that the system is faulty. He's making.
That's not what I'm telling you. Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm listening to what you're saying, but my understanding is the system let him do it so we can get by. Is that what it is?
What system are you talking
You're
about?
saying that he is proven innocent till found guilty. All these people that has evidence against him, testimony and all that, what are they? Are they just a setup? Just for what?
We're here
That's what
tonight.
I don't understand, how the system works.
Chelu, we're here tonight to understand where you're coming from, because I have my points of view na quit.
Like I said, nobody's right or wrong this right now. It's what we think of it.
So that's what you're saying to me.
Depending on how fabidana. Yeah.
Look, ilig mo na depende na hafa bidana si Jesse, edi makukusa si Jesse ni hafa bidana, ti makonvicta ni hafa bidana.
Did you guys see? Did you see Amanda Shelton fall asleep and almost fall down and smash Senator Terlahi? she was like this. She was like, and poor Pito almost died. He first of all, Ken, you lost a lot of weight since that video.
62 pounds.
Secondly, keto, right?
Yeah, keto.
Secondly, I had no idea that he was sticking up for Jesse Blas on an official proceeding.
Yeah, it blew my mind there. Basically, he's saying that the federal government forced Jesse to do that.
Dude, that guy is guilty as sin, yo.
Yeah, but the reason why this clip is indicative of how out of touch Pito Terlahi is with reality. To listen to the body of evidence that had been coming out. I mean, we heard about the wiretaps, we heard about the video cameras and everything like this, and he's still maintaining the federal government set him up. But then again, this is the man behind the casino bill at Liberation Carnival. Pito Terlahi is the senator.
Well, he was a mayor.
He was a mayor.
He understood what that revenue meant for village.
That unaudited revenue. That was the part I was fighting about. Myself and other community advocates that were fighting against gambling, we were trying to put in a cash cage, which would provide a single point of entry for money going in and out of the casino. And as we saw, there were several instances at Liberation Carnival where cash was caught at the tables illegally.
Have you ever watched Ozarks?
No, I haven't.
The series?
No, I haven't.
There's ways to get through the cash cages too.
But the
According to
whole point
Ozarks.
is, we were talking about putting in audit trails, we were putting in accountability systems, video monitoring, and Jesse was, not Jesse, Pito was saying, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. That's something that we should probably include in the rules. Never made it into the rules. And then you look at every piece of pork barrel legislation coming out of the 35th legislature, his name is on it.
Like what?
Either as number 1 or number 2. Well, Bill 30 to begin with.
He's a co-sponsor?
He's a co-sponsor
Okay.
with Tina Mooney Barnes. And then subsequent bills, like the one to now put choice back into the system, he's in it. Romeo and Juliet, he's in it. And a few other bills like that are not in the best interest of the public.
I just like, what I like about Pito Terlahi, aside from that big Godfather ring he's got going on, you know what I'm talking about? And and the way he dresses is his mouth. He just says, like he would just tell it like it is. And he'll just start going off on, if he's tired of senators fighting on the session floor, he'll just get up and say, can we just stop this? Because this is very embarrassing. And I think that we're getting off topic here. I like his style. And you know what? Sue me for not paying attention to his substance more. I didn't even realize
the thing is, like I said, I know most of these people well because I've been interacting with them for years. I like most of them as people, not as politicians, or not as senators, not as representatives of the people, because they get a paycheck no matter what. We have 35,000 people out there, many who still haven't even got their stimulus checks or their PUA or their unemployment. I mean, I'm getting calls, I'm sure you're getting calls from people every day who are desperate, who are at wit's end, who are this close to drastic actions,
There are people committing suicide.
I know that.
Yeah.
And what are we debating in the legislature? We had a hearing about embracing whales. We had the dumb hiker bill.
Amanda Shelton had a hearing about herself?
No. No, she's the Ursula. Could we put up Amanda Shelton so that Troy can get it clear? Okay, we're going to bring up Amanda.
Who made these? I want to know who the... I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch. Okay, on your list, let's get to the list now.
Okay.
Let's get to the list. So you talked about 5 incumbents who you would keep as Ken Leon Guerrero, the voter, helping other voters to decide. I think these are pretty much undebatable.
Yeah, undebatable.
Therese Terlahi, Talina Nelson, Mary Torres, Tello Tadigui, Jim Moylan. I think reasonable voters, those will probably be their top.
Yeah, and in the informal survey I'm doing, because whenever people come up and talk to me and they ask if they could talk to me, I said yes, but can I ask you a question after? And they always say yes. And my question is, if you could only vote for 3 senators, which 3 would you vote for? And I keep notes. Those names are always in the top. So it's broad-based on those 5.
I think you're right. Now let's talk about on the Democrat side, because there's fewer of those, right?
Okay.
On your list. Yeah, John Ananich, you talked about him.
Yes, I talked about John Ananich.
I also like him. I'm definitely voting for him.
Small business guy, former police officer, and he's very down to earth.
The part of the story that I think, and I don't know if he would ever talk about it because I'm sure it involves classified stuff, is the combat veteran part of the story.
Yeah.
He was a combat veteran. He served several tours in, I think it was Iraq.
Yeah.
And that's probably the story that most voters should hear about, but probably will never be told because they were probably classified missions or whatever they were. But something tells me that's the part of the story that would get him top votes.
Yeah, especially when he climbs out of his hole. He doesn't talk about that much. But my nephew didn't climb out. Oh. He served a combat tour in Iraq, and he was in the Marines in Fallujah, and they were engaged for 22 days straight. Okay. And he was disabled veteran. severe PTSD, and he did not climb out of his hole. John climbed out of his hole. So, we got to give him credit for that.
Well, God bless. God bless our soldiers.
So here's the list showing up now.
Okay, so we got Frank Leon Guerrero.
I like
Frank too.
I met Frank for the first time as part of my due diligence as a community advocate. And I sat down and spent 4 hours with him running through every issue that is facing the community. We had about 80-90% agreement on the issues, on education, on public health, on public safety, on election reform, criminal reform, economic development. 85%.
He's just a serious guy, right? He
Serious.
sounds very boring, but
he's got a dry sense of humor because every now and then he'll throw an unexpected joke in.
Well, I think he's just been a professional for such a long time.
Yeah, in a very unfunny profession, law enforcement.
Yeah.
But every now and then a joke will come through, and it catches you by surprise because after you've been with the guy for 4.5 hours. And, like every now and then a joke comes out, and the rest of the time it's serious, and fact. He talks in bullet points. He's one of the few people I've met that talks in bullet points.
Would you keep a bottle of whiskey in your office when you're a senator?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
What a boring office you're going to have.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'm such a flyweight in alcohol, and I'm famous for my inability to drink. And friends of mine joke about how they drink and I get drunk.
Oh, you're stale already.
Yeah.
All right, next on the list is Dave Duenas. I know Dave would keep a bottle of whiskey behind his
He probably would. Dave Duenas and I started at opposite ends. I was campaigning. I was running the write-in campaign for Frank Huggan. He was running for Carl.
Okay.
And so we were battling each other day after day in the media and, personally.
Yeah.
We would talk and we would bet back and forth on things like that. He won the coffee cup. We were betting a cup of coffee. He won it eventually. So when I announced I was going to run, and then I did my first signature pop-up, Dave Duenas came down. And, he signed my petition, so I had him sit there and collect signatures too. And so for the 4 hours we were sitting there in front of Payless and Sumai collecting signatures, we discussed everything. Ecology. He's big on ecology, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Public education, public television. He's big on both of those, as you know. And all the main issues. And then over the next 3 weeks that we were running around the island doing these signature pop-ups, he was with me at every single one, and we had a lot of time to talk issues.
And he just struck you as real, right?
Yeah, he is very real.
Yeah.
He
strikes me as real.
Yeah, and so that was why he made the list there, because 80 to 90% compatibility on the issues. We need to have diversity of opinion. Even on issues we agree on them from different perspectives, and you need that in a deliberative body.
And he challenged you where he disagreed with you.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Rico Blancaflor says, if all those on the list get elected along with Ken Leon Guerrero, will we be looking at Speaker Ken?
No, you would not. If all those that got elected...
Put that list back up. Let's see. Oh, it would be Teresa Lavi.
Yeah, right? Put a Wonder Woman. And put next to Wonder Woman, my dream speaker and vice speaker would be Wonder Woman and Princess Leia.
What's the caricature of Tello? If it's with a bottle of tequila, I'm gonna start laughing right now.
No, not a bottle of tequila.
Not a bottle of tequila for
All
Tello.
right.
Yeah,
Tello.
Are you ready?
Yep.
I love it.
Matrix.
I love it.
And the reason I chose her is because, remember, Matrix and Trinity was very combative.
Yeah.
Tello's very combative. James Moylan You know, and that's who my selection for vice speaker would be if that were my power.
Nice.
I would have Therese Terlahi as speaker with Mary Camacho Torres as vice speaker.
Is that supposed to be Iron Woman?
Yes.
And Wonder Woman?
Yes.
I love. Who was your artist? Would you?
Can't tell.
Can't tell. Okay.
All I can say it is a commercial artist I used to work with back in Hawaii who has since relocated after retiring.
All right. So next on the list is who was it? Why can't I remember this? We already talked about John Ananich.
All right, let's go to Menno, Bunker.
Bunker, that's right.
I met Bunker.
I love Bunker.
I met Bunker in 2016, and we almost got into a fist fight at Shirley's parking lot over independence.
Okay.
It was a 2-hour conversation that took place Bunker style, which was very passionate and very, very animated. I never felt threatened, but I felt overpowered at times because he was, and then he came to Jeff's Pirates Cove to sign my petition, and we had a 3-hour conversation. And I said, you know, when you came down here, I was a little worried that this was going to get loud. And he said, what happened? I mean, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I'll sign your petition too, but what happened? What happened between Shirley's and today? He said, I got my PhD in life. I said, your PhD in life? And then he pulled up his pants leg. I didn't know until that moment he lost his leg. He said that when you lose a part of you, it puts everything into perspective, and you question everything you thought you knew, and you question everything that you've done. And I had to spend a lot of time looking back and realized I wasn't as smart as I thought I was.
You know, I'll tell you, just as I believe that you're someone who can't be bought, I also believe that Bunker is one of those people who cannot be bought.
Everywhere I go, because of my support of Bunker people come up to me and share with me their Bunker stories. And if there was, you know, the derivative of Franklin is Francis in Italian, right? St. Francis Bunker. You know,
if I'm not mistaken, in the last election, Bunker came in number 16.
Yeah.
And so it's not out of some sort of vast imagination that Bunker could make it into the legislature.
I even have a St. Bunker story. Before I knew him, before I even met him.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Janice Garrido, Auntie Janice is asking, who's Bunker? For those of you who don't know, Bunker is the...
Frank Menno, Democrat.
Franklin Menno, yeah.
Franklin Menno on the Democrat ticket.
Yeah.
AKA Bunker.
Yes.
Before I even met Bunker in Shirley's, a friend of mine had a boat at Gerberville and needed diesel fuel for his generator. And he was pissed off because, you know, he was right in the middle of a work project on his boat and he needed diesel. And Bunker told him, hey, see that gray truck over there? There's a 5-gallon can of diesel in the back. Go ahead, help yourself. And so my friend went over, picked up the 5 gallons. Now that's $30 worth of diesel. 30? Yeah, $5. Yeah, 25. You know, at the time, you know, $150 barrel oil. So that was $30 worth of diesel the Bunker gave him so that he could keep his generator running so he could finish his project. So I didn't connect the dots till we were sitting there at Jeff's, and he told me that he used to be a captain on the tour boats. And I said, which boats? And then he told me, I said, oh, then it clicked because I remembered we were next to that boat. And Bunker gave my friend, St. Bunker. So next one on the list would be...
On the Republican side. Okay, so I don't know much about Michelle Armena.
Okay, I didn't know much about her until I met with her for lunch.
Okay.
We had a very long lunch, and I have my list of issues as a community advocate that I go through. So I went through every issue that I care about as a community advocate and got her opinion on it, and 100% compatibility. So when I look at my opinions that I've published over the years, changed the byline to Michelle Armenta, and she's got the same opinion.
So this is what I guess I need some due diligence. I need to do some due diligence on. I just want to know that who I'm voting for is not someone who is in a subtle way or in a subversive way connected to some big corporation, connected to some political faction, and it's being hidden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's a risk we take with any new candidate. But here's the thing. I have a little video I should have brought, Schrodinger's candidates. But the Schrodinger's law is there's a cat in a box, and there's a device in there. And there's a 50% chance the cat is alive, 50% chance it's dead. But we don't know till we open the box.
I would not open that box.
Well, here we are now. We have two groups of candidates. We have incumbents, most of whom we know are pure politicians.
Yes.
And then we have new candidates. And there's a 50-50 chance they will either be a politician or they will be a public servant.
So the odds are better when you choose the new
Yeah.
person.
Now, when I supported Therese Terlahi in 2016, she was a new face. She turned out to be a public servant. I also supported Regine Bisco-Lee. She turned out to be a politician. So, but the nice thing is, every 2 years, we can change our government for the better. So in 2016, we changed it better than the 32nd. I mean, it was better. Not by much, but it was better. And then the 35th, it was better than the 34th. So by the 36th, we should be much better than the 35th. And when we vote for these new candidates and we keep our eye on them as citizens, we will learn very quickly, are they politicians or public servants? Right now, I'm comfortable recommending them based on extensive time with them and verifying their track records. If you don't have any public service before I talk to you, I wouldn't even have considered you. Michelle Armenta, she was in the Army Guard.
Okay.
I form a public service.
Okay.
Vince Borja, combat vet and teacher.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about Vince Borja now. He's intriguing.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know much about him, but he's intriguing.
My first thought about him, he was going to be another Michael Babakwa.
Okay.
You know, rampant independence movement guy coming out of university, going into the legislature.
No, I think those university people don't like him.
Well, don't like who? Vince?
Yeah. I think
okay, well, you see, I didn't know until I sat down with him.
And that makes me like him, is that the UOG people don't like him.
Well, that I went in with a bias because I read a letter he'd written and it implied, you know, open-mindedness about independence and stuff. So when I sat down with him, his view of independence is very similar to mine. If the majority of the people of Guam get together and the majority of the people of Guam decide that this is something, then that is okay. See, that was a different vision I had of him because I support the right to deliberate and change political status, but it has to be done right. It can't be done with the government giving a group of 5 people $500,000 a year and say, go out, have fun, go to Washington, go to Tahiti or wherever they went, and then now go to Brussels, you know. We have to do it right, if we're going to do it.
Well, Ken, we just got $1.5 billion from the federal government, so
we're not going anywhere.
Any talk about independence is just...
but that's not even the point. The point is when you talk with Vince and you see that public service comes from his grandmother. Ooh, you know, there's some strong hands there. He was raised by his grandmother.
I want to get Vince and Michelle on this show because I want to talk to them.
I'm sure they'll come when you call them.
We were supposed to have Vince on. We could never get a hold of Michelle, but then COVID happened and we couldn't get Vince on.
Yeah.
And then of course I got lazy and depressed and we went off the air for a couple of weeks. But we really do want to bring Vince and Michelle to our viewers because I am intrigued by both of them. I like you. I like what she stands for. And I just like that Vince was a rebel.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was a rebel at UOG.
Well, I didn't know about his rebelness at UOG. What I did know
which
about
makes me
him
respect him.
is that when I interviewed him, when I say I interviewed him, I was wearing my community advocate hat. That is the most sacred role I've ever had in my life up to this point.
Who else is on this list? Is it just Sandra after Vince?
Sandra, and then Hernandez, Dominic Hernandez.
Oh, Dominic Hernandez. Okay, let's talk about Dominic Hernandez.
Dominic Hernandez is a real interesting guy. He is...
So he flubbed on our show, like, when we did the interview, and
there's credibility in his flubbiness.
Okay, explain
because he's not a polished, presented candidate or anything.
But I think he was coached.
Well, if
right
he was
before that
coached,
show.
If he was coached, he was
In
not
a bad
coached.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's coached in a bad way.
Yeah.
The Dominic I know he's a very warm and caring guy. He's very level-headed, and he brings a...
That's the Dominic I met.
Yeah, he brings an ordinary person point of view to any issue. Because when I talk to him about the issues I'm concerned about, he says, no, I've never heard that. And then we get into a discussion about it, and he asks a lot of good questions.
Well, let's look at that list again, because the ordinary person's perspective actually can apply to a lot of these people. Like Dave Duenas.
Frank.
Like Bunker.
Bunker, yeah, Franklin.
Frank is a career professional.
Yeah.
Just like many
He's
people.
a career professional, but when my Frank, I was talking about Menno Bunker.
Yes.
Because he brings a common man point of view to any issue.
Sandra,
He's open. Sandra, the same thing.
Yeah.
Sandra, the same thing. And Vince also.
Vince Borja, Dominic Hernandez.
And Frank Bloss. Now, Frank Bloss is an interesting name.
He's been a senator. So
He's been around, and I battled him in the 33rd and got him out as part of the Gang of Eight.
Yes.
And it was over his defense of the pay raise issue.
But to Frank Bloss's defense, he was never a Calvo guy.
He did not vote for the pay raises, and he was fighting against the game that was taking place. You heard Tony Atta proudly proclaim 10 different bills were introduced to roll back the pay raises, and they all failed. Well, there was a game being played. Certain senators would vote for and against different bills so they could all claim that I voted to roll back the pay raises legitimately without ever rolling back the pay raises. Frank Bloss got caught in that game because he was trying to roll back the pay raises. He was trying to make things happen, but because the way the game was being played, he was on the wrong team.
Well, I agree with most of your list. Where I don't agree, I need to do some more digging and some homework, and just put some thought into it. I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. All right. Bear in mind, if it's incumbents, just look at their voting records. Pick any bill, look at their voting records.
But can we go back to making fun of other people, though?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this legislature has probably brought.
We need to go with the two Democrats that we didn't talk about.
Oh, who are they?
Fred Berdallo and Chris Carrillo.
Oh, okay. We can talk about them. Go ahead.
Okay. Fred Berdallo, when he was chief of police, was one of the most ineffectual police chiefs ever. I had experience with him as a victim of crime.
Okay.
My van was stolen, and I couldn't get the police to act on it. I went all the way to the chief of police, Fred Berdallo, to try to get the police to do something. And he maintained the position that, well, technically your van isn't stolen because you gave it to a body shop. Well, the fact that the body shop sold your van and kept the money, that's not a police problem. That's between you. No, he stole my van. He took my van. He sold it. Oh, no. He didn't take your van. You gave it to him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't give it to him. I took it to the business to get a body job done on it,
So in Fred's defense, though, not with your thing, that's indefensible. But in Fred's defense, as when he was the chief of police, he did something about police corruption in a very solid kind of way. It was palpable. He went after the Blue House case.
Okay.
And it had everything to do with police corruption. And I will always hold him in high regard because of that.
All right, because of that, that's...
As the chief of police.
But then as a candidate on the trail, first of all, during his tenure over at Guam Veterans Office, he performed very poorly over there. And I heard from a lot of veterans about how upset and disappointed they were during his administration over at the Guam Veterans Office. So
Sure.
strike one,
Sure.
I felt that he wasn't doing a great job at the Department of Public Safety. Strike two, he wasn't doing a very good job at the Guam Veterans Office. And strike three was during the Democrat sign-up at Adelup.
I remember
and
this.
I asked him on video, you realize this is against the law? And he said, oh, no, it isn't. My Uncle Ricky. And immediately, no matter what question you ask him, he makes sure that you know he's related to Ricky Verdalio. That's not a credible candidate as far as I'm concerned.
Well, when we talked to him, he said that he will always be proud that Ricky Verdalio is his uncle, that he comes from a family of public servants, is what he said. So, now let's talk about Chris Carrillo.
Chris Carrillo. Well, to begin with, he was arrested, and he covered it on your show, but it shows a tendency to take shortcuts, a willingness to break the law when it's in his own best interest. And if he's willing to take shortcuts and break the law and get off on a technicality, what's to say he won't do anything like maybe try to execute another GRRP type contract through the legislature?
Would it have been better for you if, instead of hearing him talk about the technicality, you heard some contrition from him about it, or some other kind of explanation that didn't involve a technicality?
I'm sorry I ran over you. You see, it doesn't change the facts, because now he's running for office. He has a reason to be contrite.
Oh, I see.
Integrity is what you do when no one is looking. And when no one was looking, he chose to break a law and bring in, at the time, an illegal substance. And it's still illegal the way it's set up now. But, you know, as the what they say, as the seedling is bent, the tree grows. Mm-hmm. That is my concern with Chris Carrillo.
So if he had owned up to it back when he was caught, or...
No, there's no excuse.
Okay. So
it's like Ricky Sanchez, Department of Homeland Security, using the U.S. mail to bring meth into the Homeland Security office.
That's one of my favorites. That's my cousin's husband. It's one of my favorite stories.
You see, there is no way that person should ever be put in a position of trust and authority again, because he has proven he is willing to break the law and take shortcuts for his own enrichment.
Okay.
And that is what we don't want to see in the legislature, because we saw that in Tom Atta. You know, the Manheeta Farms bill. He was going to give 50 acres of land to the Calvo Enterprises, allegedly, you know, for farming. But think about it. 99-year lease with the right to subdivide, and you're paying nothing for it. That land would have been worth $20-40 million. You know, you have 50 acres between Anderson Front Gate and the Marine Front Gate. What would that be if you put in officer level housing units, you know? So that's why I fought that. So that's what a public and Tom Atta again on GRP and on Guam YTK. He wouldn't do anything about it. I had many discussions with him. But when Frank Uggan took over infrastructure, the first thing he did, he challenged GRRP, and he filed a case in court against Guam YTK, which eventually saved taxpayers $20 million.
Marilyn St. Augustine says, bless the legislature building with holy water so these new incoming senators don't lose their focus on working for the people and not be a politician.
Well, I think there's a good chance with this group because you look at the public service record they established before they became politicians. I've spent 12 years as a community advocate here on the island. You know, so there's the credential I'm proudest of for establishing my bona fides as a public servant. Then you look at, you know, someone like John and Vince, Army service, combat veterans. You know, that's public service in the highest level because they weren't risking, you know, a paper cut. They were risking a landmine, an IED, a sniper's bullet. Then you look at, you know, someone like Sandra Sayao. She took a bad experience and turned it into a flaming sword. She's out there fighting for women because she knows what these women are going through. We need someone with that passion on that subject because the previous champion was going to be Kelly Marsh Titano. She sold a bill of goods to me.
That's my opening. That's my opening. Now, you promised me that we were going to get back to making fun of people. Okay. Now, this legislature has enjoyed more than its fair share of being the butt of jokes.
Dumbest bunch ever.
The hashtag dumbest bunch ever. That's what Cousin Ray calls them. Every day, you can listen to his show on 93.3 FM, The Point. Him, my cousin Mana, and the real Joe Cruz, they go at it for 4 hours from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and at least 6 times, throughout every single show, they do a hashtag dumbest bunch ever where they make fun of some of the members of the legislature. Now, I think the 4 who've shared the reins of, you know, having the most jokes against them are, and I think they would go in this order. I think that Speaker Barnes and Kelly Marsh Titano probably share number 1.
Yeah.
I think right after that would be Senator Regine Biscoli.
Definitely.
And then I think right after that, and I think I have a lot to do with this, is Senator Amanda Shelton. Am I missing anyone?
Joe St. Augustine.
No, I don't think people I think people get upset with him, but I don't think people really make fun of him.
All right, Ray just talked about, you know, oh, we take a cigarette break. Let's take a cigarette break.
You know what? You're right. Joe St. Augustine will be number 5.
Okay.
But why do you think it is? I can see why people make fun of the speaker because she's the speaker, you know, and because whenever the legislature does something dumb, you identify the legislature with the speaker, right? Yep. So that's understandable. We'll get back to Kelly Marsh Titano because she's
a whole class by herself.
Yeah, she's a whole class by herself. Why do you think people have been so quick to make fun of Senator Regine Biscoli?
Because Regine was one of the ones that came in with strong anticipation that she was going to be a champion of the people. And almost right away she turned into the Democratic Machine Party band leader, if you will.
So people have likened her to Guam's version of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Fair. I had her as Morticia Adams.
And for the same reasons that people make fun of AOC. So it's when you hear about the fun they poke at Senator Regine Lee, it's about her voice, her hair, the things she says that make no sense, etc., etc., etc.
I even did one. There she is. There, Morticia.
Where is she there?
Second one from the right on the top.
But she cut her hair, so you can't do that.
Yeah, well, she cut her hair after I did this. I would hate to think she's so vindictive that she cut her hair to spite my caricature.
I want to see what the comments are right now.
Yeah, but I even did a video of her. I took Brezhnev addressing the Politburo, reading Regine's letter to Frank Uggan about playing nice or else. You know, so she put party politics far above and ahead of serving the people. It just blew me away at how fast, because when I met with her, I was impressed with her intelligence. But again, it's that 50% syndrome. Therese Terlahi, I endorsed. She became a public servant. Virgin Bisco-Lee became a politician. Clint Rigel, I endorsed him hoping he would be a public servant, but he turned into a politician. I mean, if you look at his votes, he votes practically down the line with Adelup. In fact, I'm hard-pressed to think of a vote he didn't go along with Adelup on except for this budget bill.
Well, what's Joseph Augustine supposed to be there? What's that green thing?
The Grinch.
Oh, okay. Now
1% forever. Remember, the 5% forever.
No, that's boring, Ken. Let's talk about Kelly Minnie Mouse Tyson.
You didn't see the picture of her with the Nuku Rapa dancer?
Okay, so in defense of Senator, I know all the jokes that people say about Senator Kelly March Tyson. They range from her hair to whatever crazy things she said. But in her defense, when you think about it, she didn't lie about what she stood for. I know we just had a discussion about this, about a conversation that you had with her. But I'm talking about in her commercials and in her speeches during those Lou rallies. Everything that she did is everything that she said she would do. So not just in a way, but she really did live up to her promises. She really did focus her attention on cultural issues and FestPac and all of that. Despite what people might think of, were those priorities or not, those were promises that she made during the election, and she really did keep those promises. So, I mean, and people did vote for her.
I know, but there came a diversion.
How so?
Okay, FestPac was sold to the public as a incredible event. It cost the public about $20 million.
With this FestPac that was supposed to happen?
Yeah, this past FestPac, it was like $13.5 million.
No, you're talking about the 2016 FestPac. The
2016,
2016. But that wasn't Kelly Tyson, though.
No, that wasn't her. But the whole point was where I broke ranks with Kelly is when I interviewed her and did my due diligence with her as a potential candidate, like I'm doing with these new ones. Remember, 50-50 on a new candidate. Mm-hmm. What she talked to me about was how she was going to be a champion for social issues, how she was going to strengthen the social services, and how she was going to help, build a safety net for women and children.
But that's not the stuff that she told the voters. She was very specific about cultural this and political status that, and I mean, she really did campaign on those issues.
Well, she campaigned on those issues, but we're talking about why I didn't. Okay. But let's go back to the issues. Independence movement. I am against the independence movement.
Sure.
For the past year, I have been trying to have meetings with Kelly Tyson to change the law to include a status quo task force. She does not return my calls, hasn't returned any of my emails, and when I tried to get into events, I was specifically excluded from events.
Okay.
Because the law specifically says, independence, free association, or statehood, and so status quo. So she is not listening to the people, because even before they had that conference of the party for the choir down Dusatani, that was $500,000 of money that could have been spent doing surveys and educating the people so that there could be an intelligent vote someday.
But that's for the administration. That's a function of the administration.
But who sets the policy? Who writes the law?
Going back to Kelly Tyson, though. So over the past, I want to say 3 legislative sessions, I think it is. Okay. And I don't know if this should just be chalked up to, we're getting close to an election and maybe she's just changing her stripes because we're getting close to an election. But I have noticed that she has not been an administration soldier. She's been voting against the administration, as a matter of fact.
I've noticed a couple of those too, but then I go back to when the first emergency session was called in on dealing with COVID. What did we end up debating? the dumb hiker, dumb swimmer bill. You know,
there was
30,000 people out of work, and we pass a law taking money out of what little treasury we have
there was
left.
the anti-barbecue bill. Do you remember that?
I missed
She
that
had
one.
an anti-barbecue bill. Oh my gosh, poor thing.
Okay, but the point is...
Do you think maybe she's just getting her bearings?
No, we can't afford... With the problems facing this island going from this day forward, we've got an economy that's collapsed, and we're looking at $12 spam. When I say $12 spam, the supply chains and food chains in the U.S. are breaking down. The warehouses are being depleted. Crops are being plowed under. Livestock is being killed because the farmers can't afford to feed them anymore.
Now you're going to get people rushing to the grocery store tonight.
That $12 spam isn't until 2023. But anyway, you know, we got serious problems here because as the supply chains weaken over there and people get poorer over here, local retailers aren't going to be able to buy as much as they could before when people had money. And so their unit costs are going to go up. They're going to pass it on to people. And I, as a senior citizen on a fixed income, I'm going to have a hard time dealing with these rapidly rising costs. Over the past 10 years, the cost of living in Guam has gone up 36%. The minimum wage has gone up 15%. You know, so right now we're in a situation where we are seeing explosive growth in multi-generational households, which is dangerous in the type of COVID because you're taking the super spreaders, the kids, and putting them in close quarters with the most vulnerable population, which is our elderly and people who are older and have multiple health issues. So it's like a perfect storm in a bad way coming together. So this 36th legislature needs serious players, and Kelly is not a serious player at this time.
I want to actually delve into the issues that are important for the 36th Guam legislature to address in a subsequent interview. For now, I need to take my nieces to get their homework done, their schoolwork done. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'll be glad to come back and talk issues anytime.
And maybe we can bring in, maybe Michelle can join.
Yeah, have Michelle join or Dave Duenas or John.
Yeah.
You know, bring one of each, one of the new candidates from each side in so that we can see. One thing I like about the list that I showed you is this is a group of people that has worked together and has had big discussions on big issues already, and we've already feeling out where we agree and disagree on the points because we don't agree on everything.
Good, because I would hate for there to be a legislature that rubber stamps boring issues.
It won't be a boring legislature.
I'm going to have my ideas on how to make Guam better when we have that discussion about the 36th Guam legislature. So I'm going to live vicariously through you new senators, and
we welcome your eye.
Thank you so much for your time, Ken. Thank you. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Thank you so much for your time.